Yo, what is up guys? Dubois here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully you guys are doing well. If you're new here, smash that like, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. So Daniel Dubois stops Jarrell Miller in the final seconds of the 10th round in what was, I have to say, I think Daniel Dubois' career best performance. I have to say, Jarrell Miller isn't the fighter he was from a few years ago, for many reasons. But regardless, I felt this was a good performance by Dubois. And honestly, even though I felt Miller was not the fighter he once was, I still felt he was a bad style for Dubois, so credit to Dubois for getting the job done. Early rounds were interesting actually in this fight because Miller came forwards in the first round, didn't really throw much, but he was applying pressure, he was trying to keep a tight guard, trying to walk down Dubois. And Dubois in the first round was using a lot of movement laterally and throwing a lot of punches, mainly 1-2s, hooks. Occasionally he'd throw the uppercut, he would try to go to the body. Dubois was trying to actually put shots together and move, and he was throwing a lot of shots and moving a lot. And I felt at the time the optic of that looked a little worrying from a Dubois standpoint. It looked like he was using a lot of energy. But Dubois won the first round clearly. Landed far more shots. Rounds 2 and 3 were more of the same. There was movement from Dubois. Laterally, like I said, the jab, the straight right, the 1-2. Some body shots, the uppercut through the middle. Dubois was picking good shots on the move. But Miller in rounds 2 and 3 started to actually let go of his hands, started to land some clubbing shots around the side, primarily the overhand right over Dubois' lead hand, catching Dubois on the top of the head. Miller's work was messy, but he was applying pressure, he was making Dubois work. And rounds 4 and 5, it looked like Miller was slowly starting to get into this fight. I felt you could argue he won rounds 4 and 5. Maybe one of them at least. There was a good exchange towards the end of round 4, which Miller, in my opinion, got the best of, landing some heavy clubbing shots. Dubois took them well, but by rounds 4 and 5, it looked like Dubois' gas tank was depleting, and I wondered whether Miller would then proceed to walk him down. But that's not what happened. After round 5, Dubois really started to get a foothold in this fight. Actually held his feet a little more and started to engage Miller in the pocket, and he was getting the better of Miller up close, and well, mainly at mid-range I should say. He was getting the better of Miller. Again, the 1-2, the left hook, the uppercut was there for Dubois throughout this fight, working to the body well occasionally also, and Miller's gas tank just went out the window after round 5. He was really cumbersome, real slow, real sluggish, just swinging big overhands with very little speed or power. Dubois was able to avoid them, and when he did get hit, they did nothing. And Dubois was just continuously piecing up Miller, taking advantage of Miller's slow foot speed, his slow hand speed, his lack of defense. Miller started to lose his shape as this fight went on, and his guard got more and more wide, his hands dropped lower and lower, and Dubois was teeing off on Miller at times. He was landing really good shots throughout, especially, well, throughout the fight, but he started to dominate after round 5. And as the fight progressed, Miller was getting further and further behind, and you felt that he couldn't get his way back into this fight. He lost the power on his punches, he lost that intensity, he lost that sort of pressure, and Dubois, despite him still throwing a lot of punches, was fighting on his own terms, and as we know, that's a lot easier than fighting on somebody else's terms. When a guy's making you do things you don't want to do, it tires you out a lot quicker. But in the second half of this fight, Dubois had it all his own way. He was fighting at his pace, what he was comfortable with, and he was actually throwing a fair few punches, putting his shots together, lighting up Miller, landing good shots, until eventually in round 10, Miller came out, tried to have a bit of a, resurgence in round 10, started the round okay, landed a few shots, But Dubois dealt with it pretty well. After about 45 seconds or so, Dubois started to once again take advantage of Miller's aggression. Half step back, bang, straight right hand, catching Miller coming in. Uppercuts as well. He caught, towards the end of round 10, he caught Miller with a series of punches. Primarily the right hand, straight right and uppercut. Hurt Miller, bashed Miller back into the ropes several times. Miller was losing his balance. Miller was hurt. Dubois jumped on him towards the end of round 10, last 10 seconds or so. Miller couldn't defend himself, couldn't hold his hands up. He was knackered, he was tired. Dubois landed the shots, and the referee jumps in and waves it off. Not really upset about the stoppage. Miller was done. Miller had no chance in that fight. And listen, Dubois gets a good win here. Miller was undefeated, big lump, 100-pound advantage on Dubois. I know Miller has been out of a ring for a long time. Not the fighter he was a few years ago, due to obvious reasons. But still, it's a good win for Dubois. And he showed a good gas tank in this fight. Showed good power. Showed good combinations. Decent speed. Decent athleticism. And he was the far better fighter. And he definitely made a statement in this fight. Good performance by Dubois. I have to give him credit. I've always felt Dubois has ability. He turns his shots over really well. He's got a good power jab. He can actually counter a little bit as well, Dubois. He has decent ability. For a heavyweight, he throws combinations. But as we know with Dubois, the question marks are obvious in regards to the heart, in regards to the guts, but listen, he won tonight. We'll see where he goes from here. I'm not really sure who I would match Dubois up with next. I mean, I mentioned Caballel to be an opponent for Jared Anderson. Maybe Caballel could be a good fight for Dubois. Why not? Why not, right? Both guys are ranked. Why not? But yeah, Dubois injects life into his career, and we'll see where he goes from here. Good performance, though. I enjoyed that performance. It was a boxer-puncher performance from Dubois. Good performance, yeah. As for Miller, too heavy. Gas tank wasn't there. Too slow. Too sluggish. And at 35 years old, I struggle to see where he goes from here. Not because of his age, but because of his reputation. I think we've seen the end of Miller. Yeah, it is what it is on that regards. But yeah, share your thoughts below. What did you make of this fight? Beanie Guy Del Boy. Peace.